Hello, my name is Cynthia Ng and you are tuning in to AWANI Review. Now joining me today is Karen Chand. She is Director of Strategy and Operations from the Sachs Center on Sustainable Development at Sunway University. Now the Sachs Center is founded by the renowned economist Jeffrey Sachs himself and is aimed at advancing the 17 Sustainable Development Goals outlined by the United Nations, and Sunway University has been a profound advocate of the SDGs. So thank you so much, Karen, first of all, having us here at Sunway University, and having this face-to-face interview is really refreshing because it's been a long time since we've had this kind of interaction. So thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with just to understand what Sunway University is doing. To my knowledge, it is the only tertiary education institution in the country to make sustainability a central priority in its teaching and research. Can you talk to us about that first? Why did Sunway University make sustainability its core focus?
Well, you know, it goes back to the very beginning, the very founding of the Sunway Corporation itself by our founder and chairman, Tan Sri Dr. Jeffrey Chia. So the whole establishment of the Sunway Corporation was actually really based on the concept of sustainable development, even before the term became widely used. And if you look at where this university stands, this land, Sunway City, it used to be, you know, a mining wasteland,
right.
And it has been restored and rejuvenated to a thriving, sustainable city that it is today. It is also a hub of education, which is why you have not only Sunway University, but two other universities within this micro city. And there is an international school, there is a medical center. It's really a whole ecosystem that is supporting, you know, the economic aspects of society, the social aspects, and a lot of environmental aspects have been incorporated into the development of the city as well. So looking at, you know, that background and the whole ethos that is inbuilt within the corporate culture, it was only natural that the Sunway Corporation, and through Sunway University in particular, supported the Sustainable Development Goals when it was adopted back in 2015.
What is the role of the Sachs Center in Malaysia? I understand it's the regional headquarters, part of the United Nations SDSN, which is the Sustainable Development Initiative. What do you do here, if you can walk us through? So
the Sachs Center is really a product of a partnership between the Jeffrey Chia Foundation and the UN SDSN. The SDSN is a Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And the key word here is solutions. So how are solutions generated? Our philosophy is through education and awareness building and through research. And the research are solutions-driven research to solve some of the world's most challenging problems today. And the center was a product of a gift by the Jeffrey Chia Foundation to the global UN SDSN of initially $10 million to cover the period 2016 to 2021. This was when the SDGs were newly adopted. And the center acts as a regional center of excellence for Southeast Asia on research and education in sustainable development. So through that, we have also developed postgraduate programs where we are now training specialists who will act as change makers in their organizations or even in government policy towards making this vision of sustainable development possible and the SDGs realized.
What is implied here is that a sustainable future can be achieved if people are properly educated, and this is what Sunway University is doing and the Sachs Center, and also yourself. Can you also talk to us about what are some of the initiatives that's being undertaken by this center, and how does it help in advancing the mission that you're doing, which is to advance the 17 SDGs under the United Nations?
Yeah, so well, the initiatives, like I said, we do have the postgraduate programs. Even when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, what we did was we created a fully online version of that program. So now our student base has actually expanded to cover the whole world, and we have students from virtually every country enrolling into our master's program. So they will then take that knowledge back and be change makers in their own countries. So our reach has actually widened beyond just Malaysian borders. We recently also launched a PhD program in sustainable development. So this will generate even more specialist knowledge who will act as key advisors, for example, to governments. So other initiatives are very research driven. The research, like I said, are solutions-based research. So what we need to do is look at data and see what are the areas where we face the biggest challenges. And then we do research in that area to generate solutions to solving those problems. And a lot of these solutions are very multidisciplinary in nature. For example, you may have a problem with deforestation and land use, but that cuts across more than just scientific knowledge. You also need to work with policymakers. You also need to work with the local society that is affected in certain areas where deforestation is taking place. So our initiatives are very collaborative. It's based on partnership building.
Okay.
Another big initiative that the center does is it works very much with government. We share data, we share the knowledge that we generate with them in the hope that it will sort of advise policy decisions moving forward.
The word sustainability it's become sexier in recent years, but it's only probably 5-6 years that it has really become a core focus for businesses as well. We're seeing more companies mapping up their climate goals, for instance. But it's not something that was looked at as an investment prior, not until recently. How did Sunway University make the case that sustainability is actually good for long term?
Well, if you look at Sunway Corporation, it is now almost 50 years old. And like I said, because it was based on that philosophy that we need to do well by doing good, and that an organization cannot be apart from the society that it serves. So with this kind of philosophy at the very core, Sunway University supports this on the educational side. So a lot of the problems that we face today, whether it's climate change or inequality or land use issues or agriculture, a lot of the information that we have has to be initiated through research, through science, and through some form of academic inquiry, and that will generate solutions. So there is a strong partnership between the university and the development of Sunway City, for example. So when the city took on many initiatives like installing solar rooftops all across the city to take away our dependence from the coal-based energy system, we needed the scientific knowledge. So that is where the academic community at the university supported these initiatives and made Sunway City
sort of like a proof of concept.
Yes,
right?
You can call the city some form of a living lab where we can try out and experiment with certain urban solutions, and if it works, it is a model that can be scaled up and applied elsewhere.
So education for sustainable development is relatively new methodology. Can you talk to us about what are the challenges in integrating sustainability elements into the mainstream curriculum?
Sustainability curriculum is indeed new, and I would say it really came to the surface with the adoption of the SDGs. So under SDG 4 on quality education, there is a target number 7, and target number 7 is on integrating education in sustainable development and global citizenship into mainstream curriculums in countries around the world. So there are certainly challenges to doing this, and I would say there are 3 main challenges. The first one is to do with content. So the need to create and curate material that can be integrated into existing curriculums. And I think it is much more meaningful that this material is actually embedded within science or languages or math, rather than being a standalone extracurricular subject. So what we would like to see, if it were to be meaningful, is for concepts to be, ingrained within existing subjects. So that is the first challenge. The second is teachers need to receive professional development in how to use these materials so that it is most effective in delivering their teaching, and it would result in the best learning outcomes for their students. And we believe that with the right professional development and the right material, teachers would actually find their jobs much more rewarding, and the students would find that they are actually doing better in school and they're actually enjoying their subjects. The third challenge is making education in sustainable development a whole school approach. So it has to be school-wide and school-led so that teachers feel like they're part of a system, and everyone within the school community is actually working on issues that resonate with them at the local level. So if they live in a rural area, the lessons could be applied to their natural surrounding environment. This is the third challenge. How do you make sustainable development education a school-wide project that everyone is pursuing
and not
together?
just a subject.
Exactly.
How does an education in sustainability look like at Sunway University? If one was to enroll, what does it entail?
It is very diverse. When you look at the student body, it is extremely diverse, and it is extremely multidisciplinary. So you would learn subjects in all 3 pillars of the SDG: economic, social, and environmental, and also the linkages between the 3. I think what the greatest takeaway for the students in the postgraduate programs in sustainable development are mainly a critical ability to analyze and think about the problems that are facing the world today, and how to be very creative in finding solutions to this problem. And the foundation that the program gives is one that really advocates for collaboration and co-creation of solutions. So we have seen this in some of our alumni. Some come from the corporate sector. They may be leading the corporate sustainability divisions of their organizations. Some come from the public sector. Some come from international organizations. Some come from civil society organizations. So each brings a different perspective, and the coming together of these sectoral perspectives as well as interdisciplinary perspectives is what creates a very rich learning environment that goes beyond graduating from the program.
Back in my days, when I finished high school and I wanted to pursue my education in tertiary education, sustainability was nowhere found in any of the subjects offered or the courses. I'm just wondering that, do you see that the jobs in the future, would we see more hiring of sustainability officers, sustainability researcher? Is that something that we might anticipate in the future?
I think we are already seeing that in the corporate sector, where more and more corporations are jumping on the ESG, the environmental, social and governance framework bandwagon. And to do this, you do require people with the knowledge and the skills to devise strategies for the corporations. In academia, you already see a lot of shift in focus towards sustainable development related disciplines. And I think, in my opinion, in the policy making circles, in government, in national governments, state governments, as well as regional, international level organizations, there will be an increasing need for professionals, for specialists with the ability to think about and analyze and draw out data to make decisions that will solve some of these very pressing problems.
All right. I also do want to talk about Sunway University's effort in advancing some of these SDG solutions. So I understand recently that Sunway University provided funding worth 100,000 ringgit to help push initiatives towards sustainability solutions, so to basically help with scaling up sustainability solutions. Talk to us about this initiative, and is this a competition? What are some of the projects that have been taken on?
Yeah, so we recently held the National Solutions Forum. This is the inaugural National Solutions Forum that was held in Malaysia. It is actually an offshoot of something called the Global Solutions Forum that was started by the UN SDSN back in 2019. So the whole idea behind the Solutions Forum is to look at who are the change makers on the ground that are already looking at how they can, create a business or a project to solve some of our most pressing sustainable development related problems. So we sent out a call for submissions of these solutions, and we received 39 responses, and they were really fascinating solutions covering income generating aspects to social mobility, to environmental issues. And out of the 39, we shortlisted 9 solutions based on a scoring system done by a shortlisting committee. And these 9 were then featured at the Solutions Forum. All of them received funding, but among the 9, there was a judging panel to decide which was the best solution. And we also added the most popular solution among the audience. So 2 solutions stood out based on that event. The winning solution was one that was about, it was a solution providing electrical vehicle charging stations at less than 1/3 of the cost of what is available today. And the problem that it is solving is, we want to promote the use of EVs, but there is a serious lack of charging stations, right, which acts as a deterrent. So this was the solution to that issue. So that was the winning solution. The one that won the popular vote was a solution on managing waste in a very remote village in Sarawak that you have to travel by boat for 20 minutes to get to. And when you arrive there, you actually see waste, litter everywhere, because there is no waste collection system.
Right.
It is too remote. So this project was targeted on how to compost, and also a very big educational element on how to upcycle this waste to create products that the community can monetize. The community is an indigenous community, by the way. So that one received the popular vote. That sounds
very interesting. So this is the first part of it, the funding. What comes after? As I mentioned earlier, I think we spoke about this briefly. The challenge when it comes to solutions is to scale it up and to make it bigger and to actually have a wider impact.
Yes. So the funding is just a very small part of what we intend to do. The bigger objective of the project is to, number one, inspire many other solution providers to maybe adopt a solution and adapt it to their own local community, and it can be scaled up that way. The other part of it is we gathered in the room at that event investors, venture capitalists, and other relevant stakeholders who can perhaps identify a particular solution that resonates with them, that they would want to support. So hopefully that solution can be scaled up.
So this is working with corporate partnerships.
Yes.
Okay.
And investors. And this is just the first. We intend to make this an annual event, and we also intend to advocate for this to be taken up by SDSN networks around the region, so that hopefully we can have an Asia-wide solutions forum, and that will support the Global Solutions Forum.
That's fabulous. Looking forward to hear more on that. One of the things about advancing something like this, it requires a lot of effort and also leadership. I think in the business sector, we are seeing the last couple of years, sustainability has really gained traction among the business community because the net zero pledge and just making sure that you can do business, but doing good while you do business. But this all comes with leadership. Tan Sri Jeffrey Chia is someone who is so visionary. He's a visionary, and he saw this like years before making it into what it is today. How do you make the transformation within an organization, so that people are breathing and living sustainability in whatever that they do?
I think with Sunway, it was easy because we have leaders who actually walk the talk. When they decide to embark on a full-on support for the global SDGs, everyone knows it is not lip service, because the founder and the chairman, Tan Sri Jeffrey Chia, everything he says, even in the past, has been supportive of this vision anyway. So for Sunway, it was easy because we have leaders that walk the talk. When you have leaders who walk the talk and you initiate a project or you try to instill a new culture, if that culture is something that resonates with the values of the general employees, they are very likely to also live and breathe practices. So in this case, sustainability practices, whether through recycling or refusing single-use plastics, or supporting a community outreach project, or consuming a plant-based diet. It becomes something very, very natural,
ingrained.
Yes, for us to embark on and to adopt.
Just one final question about what's going on in the world today. It's been 2 years since the pandemic, and we are now emerging from it. But it has been quite a shock to everyone, not just the pandemic, but the aftermath, the economic downturn. And of course, now we have a war raging in Ukraine. All these things, I guess, in some ways, it teaches us lessons and how to be better. I'm just wondering, in your opinion, looking from a sustainability perspective.
Well, one lesson that certainly came out of the COVID-19 pandemic is that when you have a collective effort to solve an issue, in this case, the COVID-19 virus, you can see a lot of mobilization of effort, and you see actual results in a short time. So what we would like to see happening is the same kind of collected effort and that sense of urgency when it comes to climate change and the Sustainable Development Goals. What I think are some of the biggest challenges, that's a really big question, because if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, it's really about balance. It's about the three pillars: the economic, the social, and the environmental. And in the developing world, I think one of the biggest challenges is how do you control unbridled economic growth, the pursuit of unbridled economic growth, at perhaps the expense of, the natural biodiversity and your ecosystems. That is where that balance has to come into play. So in a nutshell, I think that is the biggest challenge, striking the balance between the three. And here at the Jeffrey Sachs Center and SDSN Asia office, which is now also based here at Sunway University, we are trying to create pathways for some of these challenges. So we have a project called the ASEAN Green Future Project, and what it intends to do is to use modeling technologies to develop various pathways for ASEAN countries to achieve net zero by 2050 or 2060. And these pathways will assess the technical feasibility of the pathway, the economic feasibility of the pathway, and how it could generate socio-economic development at the same time. So it has to make sense on all aspects for it to be something that governments would be willing to adopt. It has to make financial sense while solving a problem. That is one of the projects that we have. The other is called Mission 4.7, where we are advocating for the adoption of sustainable development education in school curriculums, and to support that process with the development of materials, as well as with teacher professional development programs.
And this is at the national curriculum?
Yes, this is for primary and secondary
That's
schools.
very exciting. I think we'll need another discussion for that, just for that alone. But thank you so much, Karen, for spending time with us to talk about initiatives that's been undertaken by Sunway University as well as the Jeffrey Sachs Center.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You have been tuning into AWANI Review. My name is Cynthia Ng, and we'll see you again in the next episode.